Late today, the Justice Department released hundreds of thousands of documents in the Jeffrey Epstein case, including photos and call logs. This in response to a law requiring the DOJ to release the full files by the end of today. But not all the files will be released right now. Here's Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, after months of delays, the Justice Department has begun releasing hundreds of thousands of documents from its investigation into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It came after Congress forced their hand, passing a law requiring DOJ to release the full FBI files by the end of the day. But that won't happen. What's being released now, sources tell us, is less than half of the files. In this initial release, never-before-seen records from the investigation and thousands of photographs, some graphic and heavily redacted. But without context about what any of this means. The big question: will the files reveal a list of powerful men who took part in Epstein's sexual abuse of teenage girls? The FBI insisted there was no list, that there was no evidence that could lead them to charge anyone else with crimes. President Trump had a long friendship with Epstein, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles describing them as sort of young single playboys together. Trump says he and Epstein eventually had a falling out.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert.
The White House Chief of Staff says Trump's name comes up in the files, but not doing anything awful. I sat down with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was also the president's criminal defense attorney.
Will you make the commitment to the American people today that all the files that should be released will be released?
Well, yes, but I mean, that was a question that, with a lot of built-in assumptions. When you say should be released, we're complying with the law. And there are, the law, the Transparency Act that was passed is consistent with what President Trump has been asking us to do and telling the American people he expected to be done since before he was elected president, which is release whatever files we can.
You mentioned President Trump, so let me get specifically to President Trump. Will every document that mentions President Trump, every picture of him, every video, every bit of information related to him in these files be released today or at some point in this process?
Assuming it's consistent with the law, yes. So there's no effort to hold anything back because there's the name Donald J. Trump.
To be clear, you're saying DOJ has not been ordered to redact anything related to President Trump, that there's no order to do such?
No, I mean, I would give the order. President Trump has certainly said from the beginning that he expects all files that can be released to be released, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Trump has tried to turn the focus to Epstein's relationships with Democrats like former President Clinton. Today's release includes some never-before-seen images of Clinton and Epstein together. This picture of Clinton in a jacuzzi, and this one of him swimming with Epstein's accomplice, convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. But Clinton has not been accused of wrongdoing. In fact, the White House Chief of Staff told Vanity Fair there's no incriminating information about Clinton in the files, saying Trump was wrong about that.
And Pierre Thomas joins us now. Pierre, what comes next?
Well, we should note, Stephanie, that DOJ is deciding what to release and when to release it. What we're seeing tonight is just part of the Epstein files, with additional batches of documents expected to be released in the coming days and weeks, Stephanie.
All right, Pierre, thank you so much for that update.
Pleasure.
And we just received a statement from President Clinton's spokesperson. It said in part the White House hasn't been hiding these files for months, only to dump them late on a Friday to protect Bill Clinton. This is about shielding themselves from what comes next or from what they'll try and hide forever.